Assalamualaikum and good afternoon. I am Athirah Ishak from Malaysia Productivity Corporation, signing in MPC Productivity Talk 5th series. Tune in every Friday, 3 p.m. Don't forget to block your dates. Okay, our conversation today will focus on MyMudah RURB. We will explore on reduce business costs, business concerns, troubleshoots, and recommend solutions. For further explanation on the topic, we have with us today our speaker, Mr. Mohammed Alamin Rehan, Deputy Director of Productivity and Competitiveness Development at MPC. Our guest speaker, Mr. Swee Seang, from RURB Expert Advisor. Find out more with our special guest right after this. Stay with us. We have with us today Mr. Mohammed Alamin, Deputy Director of Productivity and Competitiveness Development, MPC. Assalamualaikum, Mr. Alamin, and welcome to our show. Thank you, Cik Alamin. So now, our first question regards to MyMudah. Tell us what MyMudah all about.
Thank you, Athirah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and salam sejahtera. The government, through Economic Action Council EAC meeting, agreed on the MyMudah initiative in July 2020 as a fast-forward solution to address the economic impact of COVID-19. It is a strategy to improve regulatory quality to mitigate against regulatory challenges being faced by businesses due to COVID-19 and has since been adapted to also help in achieving national economic recovery in the endemic period.
Okay.
MPC has been tasked to lead MyMudah, where we play as a role of facilitator to receive business concerns, troubleshoot, and recommend solutions to the implementing government agencies. Basically, the main objective of MyMudah are to assist companies and businesses which are burdened by unnecessary regulations, bureaucracy or red tape, and to reduce business costs in the context of cutting costs, enhance ease of doing business, including the reduced number of procedures and processing times, create jobs and stimulate the economy. As MyMudah initiative effectively helps in ease of doing business, on 24th November 2021, the Mohammed Prime Minister chaired an EAC meeting and then decided the MyMudah initiative should be strengthened by establishing MyMudah units in all ministries and agencies, as well as in business associations, to holistically facilitate the doing business countrywide. Currently, we are in the midst of conducting MyMudah onboarding sessions with all ministries, government agencies, and business associations.
I see. So, how MyMudah initiative to improve productivity?
Thank you, Athirah. This is a very good question. Basically, MyMudah initiative is focusing on reducing unnecessary regulatory burden on business.
Okay.
Regulation is one of the important elements that has a substantial effect on the behavior and performance of companies. Main goals of developing regulation is to protect safety, health, environments, and public goods.
I see.
However, poor regulatory design, administer and enforce it could result frustration and create barrier for business to growth and improve their productivity, such as regulatory uncertainty, poor enforcement or administration, unnecessary duplication, and inconsistency. This will result unnecessary compliance costs and delays, add to already significant barriers to entry, especially for SMEs, reducing competitive pressures and potentially innovation and enhance productivity in the sector. Effective and efficient of regulations are required to maximize net benefits to the rakyat by imposing the lowest burdens necessary to achieve policy goals without compromising economic growth, innovation, competitiveness, and job creation.
So our next question, what is the approach or methodology to reduce unnecessary regulatory burdens?
So our approach on this MyMudah initiative, we are focusing on reviewing regulation, which is based on broader definition. We include all written legal and quasi-legal instruments ranging from primary legislation, secondary instruments, guidelines, circular codes, standards, and other rules that impact to businesses. We will assess both written regulation and the administration and enforcement of regulation at design and delivery stage. Business will send their business concern through UPC portal, Unified Public Consultation Portal, MyMudah, and MyMudah Secretariat will assess and then determine whether this business concern create a regulatory burdens or not, and then we will using RURB or reducing unnecessary business approach to come up with the proposed solution and then present it to implementing agency to obtain feedback and implement it.
Okay.
Some of the good regulatory approaches that we'll recommend on this initiative, for example, regulatory relaxation, regulatory experimentation, outcome performance-based regulation, risk-based regulation, and self-regulation.
So what is the success story of MyMudah? Can you share a little bit of the success story?
Thank you, Athirah. Some of the success story of MyMudah is on the realization of regulatory requirements to license tour operator and travel agents, especially at MOTEC, Ministry of Tourism. So under this top tech requirement, especially last year during COVID-19, the requirement of top tech license is to have a physical premise as a criteria for new application and renewal to obtain. However, as you aware that business during this COVID-19, especially for the tourism industry, they face a difficulty to obtain customer or consumer. So it's very difficult for them to pay rental and overhead costs. So the based on the MyMudah initiative, MOTEC agreed to relax this regulation where tour operator are allowed to co-share office space to reduce their operating costs and to reduce their operating costs. Another one, initiative with regard on the silence implies consent for CCC or Certificate of Completion and Compliance for bidding. So during COVID-19, during movement control order, as you aware that there is a backlog on the regulation processing because of a number of government officers can't do physical inspection. So there is a backlog. So in order to speed up this process, so we introduced on the approach of silent implied consent, where there will be an automatic approval will be given after 14 to 28 days.
I see. Okay.
Another one is the project experimentation to streamline process approval for establishment factory Kulim at Kulim High Tech, where we managed to speed up the process from 24 months to 10 months. This project we call it a project E10. So after we do this project experimentation, so this project will be escalated this year. Will be escalated to others government agencies on the other state and local authorities.
Okay.
Dalam persediaan menuju ke fasa endemik dan selari dengan pertumbuhan ekonomi global yang semakin rancak, usaha mewujudkan persekitaran perniagaan yang kondusif wajar dijadikan agenda utama di setiap peringkat pentadbiran kerajaan persekutuan serta kerajaan negeri agar negara kekal berdaya saing. Apakah yang dimaksudkan dengan negara yang berdaya saing tinggi? Negara yang berdaya saing tinggi mempunyai keupayaan untuk bersaing dengan berkesan di dalam pasaran antarabangsa. Prestasi daya saing pula disokong oleh amalan baik peraturan melalui beberapa cara, iaitu institusi yang kukuh, infrastruktur yang efisien serta dasar dan peraturan yang berkualiti. Tahukah anda, Malaysia merupakan negara kedua berdaya saing tinggi di rantau ASEAN. Justru kita mampu mencipta keupayaan yang lebih lagi melalui beberapa cara yang bersesuaian, antaranya melalui inisiatif MyMudah. Pernah dengarkah anda tentang inisiatif Malaysia Mudah atau MyMudah? MyMudah adalah titik permulaan ke arah penambahbaikan ekosistem peraturan perniagaan dan penyampaian peraturan yang cekap dan berkesan. MyMudah merupakan usaha bagi memastikan dasar dan peraturan adalah berkualiti bagi membentuk ekosistem perniagaan yang kondusif ke arah peningkatan produktiviti, daya saing, pertumbuhan ekonomi dan kemakmuran bersama. MyMudah menyediakan platform untuk peniaga mengemukakan isu dan cabaran yang dihadapi berkaitan peraturan perniagaan. Pelaksanaan MyMudah adalah melalui pendekatan keseluruhan kerajaan, whole of government approach, iaitu meliputi kementerian atau agensi kerajaan di peringkat persekutuan, negeri dan pihak berkuasa tempatan, bersama-sama berganding bahu dengan pihak swasta ke arah memudah cara operasi perniagaan. MyMudah bermatlamat untuk membantu syarikat dan perniagaan dari dibebani peraturan tidak perlu dan karenah birokrasi serta mengurangkan kos perniagaan. Sebagai pembuat dasar dan pengawal selia peraturan, peranan kementerian dan agensi kerajaan di peringkat persekutuan, negeri dan pihak berkuasa tempatan sangat penting untuk menjadi perintis perubahan menuju ke arah peraturan yang berkualiti. Peraturan berkualiti menggalakkan inovasi dan pemodenan perniagaan. Selain itu, dengan usaha pelaksanaan MyMudah ini juga, peraturan sedia ada dapat disemak dan diselia agar lebih responsif, tangkas dan relevan dengan keperluan semasa. Terdahulu, Mesyuarat Majlis Tindakan Ekonomi EAC pada 24 November 2021 yang dipengerusikan oleh Yang Amat Berhormat Perdana Menteri Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob telah bersetuju dengan penubuhan unit MyMudah di kementerian dan agensi kerajaan di peringkat persekutuan, negeri dan pihak berkuasa tempatan serta persatuan perniagaan di seluruh Malaysia. Program MyMudah memberi impak positif kepada daya saing syarikat melalui penggunaan sumber yang cekap dan berkesan serta penjimatan kos pematuhan ke arah melonjakkan produktiviti dan ekonomi negara. Antara impak yang dicapai melalui inisiatif MyMudah ialah sektor pembinaan telah menerima manfaat penjimatan kos pematuhan sebanyak 1.75 bilion ringgit setahun melalui kaedah Silence Implies Consent yang diperkenalkan dalam pengeluaran Sijil Perakuan Siap dan Pematuhan CCC. Untuk makluman, ketika Perintah Kawalan Pergerakan PKP dilaksanakan di seluruh Malaysia, sektor pembinaan menghadapi cabaran di dalam proses mendapatkan kelulusan khususnya di peringkat akhir pembinaan. Terdapat bangunan-bangunan yang sudah siap dibina tetapi tidak boleh didiami kerana pihak profesional tidak dapat mengeluarkan CCC. Hal ini disebabkan pihak agensi teknikal tidak dapat mengeluarkan surat pelepasan yang diperlukan oleh pihak profesional untuk pengeluaran CCC dalam tempoh yang sepatutnya akibat daripada PKP. Menerusi kaedah Silence Implies Consent yang diperkenalkan melalui inisiatif MyMudah, surat pelepasan diterima secara automatik daripada agensi teknikal selepas 14 hingga 28 hari dan pihak profesional boleh mengeluarkan CCC selepas tempoh tersebut. Dengan inisiatif ini, bangunan yang telah siap dibina dapat diduduki dengan lebih cepat. Bagi bangunan komersial, peniaga yang memerlukan premis perniagaan dapat memulakan perniagaan mereka dengan lebih cepat. Kesimpulannya, lebih cepat aktiviti perniagaan dapat dimulakan akan menyumbang kepada pertumbuhan ekonomi yang lebih pantas. Antara kejayaan lain yang dicapai melalui inisiatif MyMudah ialah langkah Kerajaan Negeri Kedah yang memperkenalkan permit pembinaan ekspres atau E10 yang menjadi faktor utama negeri tersebut mencapai nilai pelaburan tertinggi di Malaysia antara Januari hingga September tahun 2021. Inisiatif E10 ini telah mempercepatkan proses kelulusan mendirikan kilang pembuatan dan permit operasi tanpa mengenepikan pematuhan kepada peraturan dan keselamatan. Sebagai contoh, sebuah kilang di Kulim Kedah dengan pelaburan RM280 juta telah dapat disiapkan dan beroperasi dalam masa 10 bulan berbanding 24 bulan dengan kaedah terdahulu. Inisiatif ini telah mencipta penjimatan kos pematuhan bernilai sekitar RM9 juta setiap kilang, penjanaan hasil yang lebih cepat dalam kalangan peniaga, mencipta peluang pekerjaan baru kepada rakyat tempatan dan menyokong pertumbuhan ekonomi setempat dan negara secara keseluruhannya. Inisiatif E10 yang telah berjaya dilaksanakan di Kulim sedang diperluaskan ke negeri-negeri lain sebagai salah satu strategi bagi melonjakkan produktiviti negeri dan mempertingkatkan pelaburan tempatan dan asing. Ini terbukti dengan peningkatan mendadak minat pelabur untuk melabur di Kulim selepas kejayaan pelaksanaan E10. Bagus kan macam ni? Syarikat atau perniagaan pun senang hati nak buat kerja. Diharapkan dengan perkongsian ini dapat membantu anda memahami secara lebih mendalam tentang MyMudah.
So I would like to ask a quick question, Mr. Goh, regarding what is unnecessary burden on business, and could you please share how regulators can identify whether it is unnecessary burden or not?
Okay, thank you, Encik Alamin. That is a very important question, both to regulators and to businesses. Businesses are the one that are being regulated, so they experience the burden. And regulators means that you want to achieve efficiency and effectiveness, so not to burden businesses. Okay, so when we talk about burden, all regulation pose some kind of burden on business, what we call compliance burden. Tetapi when you over-regulate, for example, then you may be imposing a burden that is more than what is necessary. When we say over-regulated, we mean that you can achieve your regulatory objectives not necessarily by having so much regulation, for example. So if you then use appropriate tools with a lower level of regulations, then you may find that you still achieve your objectives, but you reduce the burden. Not only the burden for the businesses, the burden on the administration.
Unnecessary burden, we reduce cost to the business. From your point of view, Mr. Goh, how this initiative, MyMudah, reducing unnecessary burden on business, could also help government?
Okay, first of all, when MyMudah is a platform where businesses will raise issues when they find difficulty in complying with certain aspects of regulations. Just now I mentioned one regulation may be licensing aspect. For example, if the business find it difficult to apply for a license because the conditions imposed may be more than what is necessary. for example, then you will find that people will feel the burden and feel that it will affect their business. For example, delay in getting their license. For example, if they delay in getting their licenses, then what happens is when they operate outside the period of the license, in other words, the license expire but couldn't get it renewed in time, then they may be fined for non-compliance. You see? So this poses a problem for the business because they do not want to carry out their business activity illegally too. You see? So they want to comply, but if the license take too long, to get approved, for example, then it may affect their business. The business, their operations, and that will pose, of course, a lot of burden on these businesses because it means that they may have lost opportunities for businesses. And on the government side, of course, if the license which takes a longer time to issue means you have to keep working on that application. And if when you have lots and lots of applications, then you are going to have incur a lot of backlog in what do you say, approving of licensing, you see, to businesses, you see. And when you have a lot of backlog, of course, then you have a lot of all kinds of complaints in the newspaper and so forth, and it plays a bad light on the government, government as a whole. You see. Government will be viewed as being not efficient, for example. You see. So that is a bad for the image of the authority. You see. Because government is not to be a barrier for business activities, but actually to facilitate business efficiency. So, so it's very important to both sides that there is no unnecessary regulatory burdens in any regulations that is being applied.
Thank you, Mr. Alamin and Mr. Go, for the detailed explanation on MyMudah, reducing unnecessary regulatory burdens and on businesses, the objectives, initiatives that can improve productivity, approach, or methodology to reduce unnecessary regulatory burdens, and also sharing on the success story of MyMudah. We really hope that all of us could benefit from the session today as much as I do. Again, thank you, Mr. Alamin and Mr. Go, for your time with us today. A very productive session indeed. To all our audiences, thank you for joining us. I hope to see you again in the next session. Same day, same time, Friday at 3 p.m. Stay safe, stay positive, and stay productive.